hasn't seen much action yet. Xander Schauffele's 25-1, and he's one of the more popular guys at the window. And again, they're two guys I would look at, like you, in majors going forward if Brooks Koepka decides he doesn't want to win one of these at some point.
And, of course, this weekend is the Charles Schwab Challenge at the Colonial Country Club in Fort Worth, Texas. What are you seeing in the early action and anything that bettors should be aware of as they handicap this tournament?
You know, we did take some early John Rahm money at 12-1, and it makes a little bit of sense. This is a great event because they play at the same course every year. Usually gets a pretty classy field. It's a par 70, tons of bunkers, tons of doglegs, really small greens. You take a look at the past winners. Most of them are at the top of the board. If you throw out Boo Weekly in 2013, each of the last 10 winners have been shorter than 30-1. Rose, Kisner, Spieth, Adam Scott, Zach Johnson twice, to name a few. You look at the demographic, it seems like the 30- and 40-year-old classy veteran that wins these events. But one of the things that's interesting is because of the doglegs, it's a tight track, there's fairway bunkers. It takes a driver out of the hands of most of these guys. Hitting fairways is paramount. And if you look at the top of the board, a guy like Rahm wants to hit driver every hole. So I don't know. He's top 5 here each of the last 2 years. But it's a course that it can get away from you fast. And we've seen him throw clubs and steam before. I'm happy to go in another direction. The guy I'm looking at this week, and he just seems to leap off the page, 100-1 Jim Furyk. He fits the bill of all of the previous winners, a classy guy, tons of wins. He has 7 top 10s here career at Colonial. Was in great form earlier in the year. He's missed 3 straight cuts, but 2 cuts ago was that team event that is a total throwout, and he missed the cut last week at Bethpage where the course couldn't be any more opposite of what suits him. The stats I'm looking at this week, bogey avoidance, scrambling, driving accuracy, top 5 on tour, and all 3 of those. Bogey avoidance especially would be the number 1 stat I'd be looking at. Rose shot 20 under last year, but it's a complete anomaly from the other years. There was no wind. The wind figures to be really strong on Thursday, Friday this week. So, you know, getting a guy, doesn't make a lot of bogeys, keeps his head on straight, classy veteran. That's the direction I'm going this week.
I'll throw one guy out at you, and I have not researched this tournament to any great extent yet. I will later on today to see if I can come up with a play, but it just looks like a Kisner type of course. And you're always going to get, a halfway decent price on Kisner.
Yeah, he won here 2 years ago in an incredible windstorm. The highest score that's won here in recent times. He shot 10 under to win. Only one other time since 2000 has the score been higher. And the wind does figure to kick up Thursday, Friday. He's a guy that definitely figures. He's 30-1. He's won here. He's finished 5th. No reason to think he wouldn't be around again on Sunday.
Well, let's shift our focus over to the Diamonds and take a look. I'll start with taking a look at the 2 teams that have probably cost you the most money since the last time we talked. That would be the Houston Astros and the New York Yankees. Let me ask you, of the 2, which one have the bettors been beating you up on worse, Astros or Bronx Bombers?
Well, the Astros. Just the parlay players don't care what the price is. It's just become like the theoretical free square on the parlay. You just pick the Astros, and there you go. You have a free win. I mean, they've won 12 of 13, 15 of 17. They just don't give up any runs. Presley and Osuna out of the pen have thrown 42 in the 3rd innings. They've walked 2 guys. This team, they don't give up any runs. Oh, and by the way, they score a ton too. I can't imagine right now who else could compete with them long term. Maybe the Yankees when they get everyone back, but this Astros team is a buzzsaw right now.
But you know who else is a buzzsaw, and it's just not showing up in the sharp market at all? I mean, I know the sharps are not fading the Yankees and Astros because they're just killing everybody. But the sharp money keeps fading the Twins, waiting for something to go wrong. They're doing it again today. And I'll be honest with you, I can't understand it. It's like, are you not watching this team? They can crush the ball, and they're playing an Angels team that's going in the other direction right now. I don't understand the line movement in this game.
I think the line, you're right about the Twins, Dave. And, we don't have to talk about how many times in the last 2-3 months you and I have discussed how good the Twins are going to be. But what's interesting is I was looking into this a couple hours ago. It's more, the Sharps have been blasting the Angels every night. 11 of the last 13 Angels games have taken a move on the Angels, and the line is closed toward the Angels from open. So I guess this is just another one that falls into this category. But, with Simmons hurt now, what they miss on defense with him is it's just not something you can make up. He's the best defensive shortstop to play the game since Omar Vizquel. This team was a fringe playoff team at best with him, but without him for any length of time, they can forget it.
I think the entire sharp market is comprised of relatives of Tommy La Stella. That must be what it is. And look, Tommy Boy's doing great, but I don't know. And here's the other thing. And look, I had the Twins last night, and I'm going to lose this bet. Or at least I'm in position to lose this bet until that idiot in the dugout decides to knee-jerk Trevor Cahill out of the game after he gives up a leadoff double in the 6th inning. It's like, I was texting back and forth with my buddy Jay Salamini. It's like, we just got a shot in this game.
Thank you.
We just got a big favor from Osmus. He's a terrible manager. Terrible. Okay, he was as bad as it gets with the Tigers. He hasn't improved a bit. If you think this guy's going to take the Angels to the playoffs, I think you're daffy.
Hard to disagree. And as bookmakers, we're getting tired of him changing pitches 3 times a day, every day. And it's just, he's a special case. And I'm with you. I don't buy this Angels team or Brad Osmus in the least.
Are you going to read anything other than a short-term kind of, it's almost, I was on VSiN earlier, and this is the way I described it. We know when a coaching change gets made in season or a managerial change gets made in season, sometimes there's a little window where the team gets hot.
Yeah.
Do you think maybe that in a sense, in a weird kind of way, the Mets not firing Mickey Callaway, because everybody thought that's it, he's gone after the wrong way sweep at Miami. Jeff, I thought that when they came out Monday with this elaborate press conference, hey, he's our guy. It's kind of like the Mets have gotten a new manager spike out of this. They've played well the last couple of nights. Is this something that you think might continue for a week or two?
This is a weird one for me because every time you see the quote, vote of confidence from upper management, it lasts like 6 days and the guy gets fired anyways. And frankly, I haven't watched enough Mets baseball this year to make any real view on his managerial talents, we'll say. But it's not his fault that Cano, Frazier, and Nimmo haven't hit it all, and DeGrom and Syndergaard maybe haven't pitched to DeGrom and Syndergaard level, unless maybe they just don't like him and everyone is underperforming. It's an interesting one, and the players aren't going to, they're not going to put that out there in the media if they don't like the guy. So it's a hard one to figure. I don't really know what's going on, but the guys that are supposed to be hitting sure aren't hitting.
One last in MLB, because we've got the other side of that streak where the Mets got swept over the weekend. That's the Marlins, who won again last night.
Yes.
And all of a sudden,
the marvelous Marlins.
The Miami no longer a serious threat to challenge the 99 Cleveland Spiders for the worst record of all time. That's the 1899 or the 1960 New York Mets, because when you win 4 games in a row, you're doing something right. Are we seeing any Miami action at the betting window?
No, and it's funny you say that because last week we half-joked about putting up a prop on will the Marlins win 40 games. And I decided after the phone call, I'm like, if they just lose a few more games, I'm going to put this up, and I'd like to blame the Mets for ruining my fun. But, no, there's last night's Marlins-Tigers game, I didn't look back to do any research, but you want to talk about the lowest handled regular season baseball game this year was Marlins-Tigers last night. Just no interest whatsoever.
Lots of good NFL stuff up at Caesars Entertainment, and I really like this prop. This is a really fun prop.
Fewest wins.
The fewest NFL wins, and I'm surprised at the favorite, if you want to call them that. Let's talk about that. What made you put the Miami Dolphins as the team that's most likely to have the fewest wins this year at only plus 200?
Well, we actually opened the Dolphins and the Cardinals both at 5-2. Both having different. The Cardinals having lower season wins than the Dolphins, but the Dolphins getting to play the Bills and the Jets, and, it was tough to separate them. But when we opened it, we took a Dolphins bet at 5-2 almost immediately. So that's where we went to the 2-1 and bumped Arizona to 3-1.
Was it from Josh Rosen? No. Okay, no.
Well,
that's the thing. If Rosen, they like him, obviously. If a lot of us, including me, are wrong about Josh Rosen, they're probably going to win as many games as they did last year, and maybe.
No.
Why not? Because with the Bills, the Jets.
Okay.
Look, the Jets are completely dysfunctional. The Bills might be an okay football team, but
the Jets are lying to 7 wins, and they've got a good quarterback. Darnold's decent. Okay, the Bills have a quarterback who's decent and a defense that's solid. The Patriots are the Patriots. Miami, I'm telling you, I had them over 6.5 wins.
Team.
I had over 6.5 wins last year, and I've never been luckier in all my career to win an over bet when they won 7 games. They had the game against New England they didn't deserve. There were Gronks out there for the final play. That was the clincher, okay? And at least 4 other games like that Gase, who got ripped going out of Miami, Gase stole like 3 or 4 games for the Dolphins last year. And Rosen is, I'm not going to say he's hopeless.
He's not.
There's
good.
no offensive line protecting him and no receiving talent around him, and that's exactly what happened in Arizona last year, and it did not bode well. So I could see Arizona. I say Miami is a favorite there. What about the 2 teams that the Giants had a pretty miserable offseason, and Oakland was a pretty miserable team last year. Are those 2 teams seeing any action in the worst and fewest wins for 2019 thus far?
We did take a little Giants money. We have not seen any Oakland money. The one that interests me from a guy we respect came in pretty soon after and took the 25-1 on the Broncos to be the fewest wins. And if you dig a little deeper, I mean, I thought Joe Flacco has been a disaster for a while, and that opinion's not changing anytime soon. They're not very deep at the wide receiver position, and they're in a division where the Chiefs and the Chargers are really good, and I know the Raiders are kind of, they're one of the favorites in this market, but I feel like there's enough upside on the Raiders where maybe they could be a 500 team, and, playing into this market, you're kind of looking for a team with disaster potential, and I think Denver is one of those.
That's interesting. By the way, this is true story, actually. Some Denver fans were wondering why the team had already built a statue of Joe Flacco outside the stadium, and it turned out it wasn't a statue. It was just Flacco. He was there. He's, and now they've drafted Paxton Lynch 2.0. So things are not good. How can a guy as great as Elway was, and he's one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game, be such a bad talent evaluator at that position in particular?
It's amazing. He just sees, he's the guy where if he was a GM 25 years ago, he'd have drafted Jeff George. He's a guy that's 6'3" and has an arm, and they're automatically going to be an NFL star. Well, that's not the case. I mean, you want to talk about a guy who made the absolute most out of playing 3 incredible games in the playoffs. I mean, the Joe Flacco contract is it's Chan Ho Park bad, if you ask me.
And that was a heck of a run.
Wow. This is a Jeff George and a Chan Ho Park reference in the same. That's outstanding, Jeff. All right. Now, we know about this is such a good show, and we got to figure out how to get there. Martin Short and Steve Martin together. I mean, I'm not into the musical extravaganzas, so I mean, Madonna and stuff. I know that's the stuff that the crowds are going to go nuts over, and good luck getting a ticket. But you got me so excited last week with the news that Martin Short and Steve Martin are doing a show together. That's going to sell out in a hurry.
Yeah, especially because there's only one show.
Yeah.
And, these guys don't have a lot of time left. Now
you don't have to put it that way. Jeez, that's my age group. You don't have to put it that way. Jeez.
No, it should be a great show. Also going to point out for the younger demographic, Pitbull, who's has a residency at Planet Hollywood. He only has 3 shows left. Tonight, Friday, Saturday, tickets still available. If anybody wants to see him before he leaves town, now would be the time to do so.
And Caesars Entertainment